Want some candy?
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass. And I'm all out of bubblegum.
Well, hello, Mr. Fancy Pants.
I hear you looking for candy, man, bitch.
Give me some sugar, baby. Like scary movies.
Want some candy?
You ready?
Fun. Sure.
What's up, losers? Welcome back to another episode of Monster Candy Podcast with myself, Screamin E from the Memphis Murder Men, and Oobliette Sparks from Tsunami Bomb. And tonight, we are crossing streams and getting caged. That's right, dickheads.
Been a long time.
Time for another Caged. That's right. We're going to talk about Dream Scenario from Christopher... Was it Borgley? What a name.
I don't fucking know, dude.
Yeah.
That name fits this movie.
It does fit this movie. But before we even get into the Nicolas Cage thing, it's time to talk about
that
some...
guy's name.
Borgley. I just think of Star Trek Next Gen.
I just think of somebody with like goiters all over them.
Yeah. Facts. You got any horror news?
Yeah. One we've talked about a little bit, but now it's been like actually confirmed that the next Evil Dead movie and the future Evil Dead movies are not going to be sequels. They're going to make the whole brand more like an anthology, which is so fucking smart. It's so smart.
Yeah.
Just talk about how smart this is. And it lets you do whatever you want. I mean, within the brand, but it's like Scream, Halloween. Like you could have, I guess Halloween kind of tried to do that in some of the movies. Well, they just like went off on their own and did their own track. But I think it's cool because, yeah, it really opens up what they can do with it. Like, you can do any kind of story possible with the Deadites. You don't have to follow other ones. But they also left the end of the last movie open, so something could tie in eventually. But it would be great if, it didn't, because that would be fine.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's cool because you can also give Bruce Campbell some little weird cameos like in the last one and kind of follow his, set up fan theories to follow his trek through time, which would be cool. Ash's trek through time. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean,
actually, yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, I mean, it's. I'm glad they're moving forward with anything. Like I said, the last one, I mean, wasn't my most favorite movie, but it was fun. And if they can just be, as long as they can be fun, then I'm down for it.
Yeah, I wouldn't kick the last one out of bed.
No,
it was fun.
Compared
to the other shit that's been coming out, it was marvelous, actually.
Yeah.
So,
yes, agreed.
I think it was one of my runners up. Runners up. How do you say that?
Yeah.
Yep.
Exactly like that.
Yeah, that. So my other one, there was all kinds of horror news floating around. Most of it was not that interesting. And some of it was, but I just didn't feel like talking about it.
And you don't have to.
I do not have to. So, since Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey, we keep seeing all these headlines about all these new movies that are going to be based on all kinds of other like IP that is now public, or just based off of old other shit. So going through all of them, it was just so much crap. And this one, I feel like this one I'm going to talk about. It's probably going to be crap, right?
Probably.
So I don't want anyone to think that I'm telling you that you need to watch this movie. I mean, I'm going to watch this movie because it's now captivated me in a way that I think I need to. But they are coming out with a movie and it comes out in April. So you guys don't have to wait very long.
Okay.
So it's a Cinderella movie.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Called Cinderella's Revenge. And if you're a fan of Species, the fairy godmother is Natasha Henstridge.
Right.
And I
Which,
don't know who any of the other people are.
I mean, at least you got her.
And yeah, playing the fairy godmother, which is, hot or whatever. Um, so all the other actresses are all horror movie actresses.
Okay.
The lead has been in such classics as Unhinged Retribution,
I love that one.
Dinosaur Prison,
Oh,
classic,
classic for sure.
and 2022's Curse of Jack Frost,
I
which
mean,
won several awards, I've been told.
yeah.
Um, so the reason I'm bringing it up is because there's a full trailer for this, and they didn't spend like a lot of money, but
Right.
they obviously spent more money than I probably would have on this movie.
Probably.
And definitely make it look like a period piece. But all I know of the premise is the trailer I watched because I didn't actually want to spend that much time reading about it. And basically, we all know the story of Cinderella. So Natasha, the godmother, shows up and is basically like, here's this crazy looking mask. And if you wear it, then it'll give you the power to exact your revenge. And
Okay.
it's like this wooden kind of nothing special. I mean, creepy mask. But yeah, and they don't show much in the trailer, but there was like the part where the prince shows up again with the shoe to see, like whose
Mhm.
foot would fit in it. And I don't know if it's Cinderella doing it. I actually think it's probably the stepsisters doing it to themselves, but there's just like a shot of somebody with like a knife or a saw just like sawing off their fucking toes to try to make it fit in the shoe. And so like I'm sold on it. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna see it. Again, I'm not telling anyone else to, but I saw enough in the trailer that I feel like I'm gonna brave this and push through. I'm not expecting much, but there's like this little glimmer. There's a glimmer that I saw
I
in that
mean,
trailer that makes me believe that it might be entertaining.
if they're cutting off toes to fit into shoes, then that gives it hope for it to be at least gory and entertaining in that
Yeah.
way. So
Mm-hmm.
I just like the fact that they're doing all these weird, dark versions of fairy tales.
Same. I mean, I think that Cinderella could be done in a much better and probably more scary way than what this is going to be.
Probably.
But I'm here for it. Like I like that stuff too. Because for me, those stories definitely give you more room to play with. It's
Mhm.
not necessarily a brand. It's a fable, so you can really kind of go all out. I mean, honestly, I wish people would start making movies based off of all the fairy tales before they were dumbed down for modern day, because
Right.
like the original Little Red Riding Hood, even like the original Little Mermaid, like those
Mhm.
stories are fucking bleak and dark and terrifying, and you could make some really good movies out of them.
Oh yeah. I was just talking about I forget who I was talking to. Maybe Holtzfeuer from Arnocorps about
Hmm.
because Tubi has like all these 80s cartoons on there, like full seasons, full just series of them. So I was watching the old G.I. Joe ones,
Hmm.
and it like surprisingly adult as far as like just how the writing was. And I'm like, God damn,
Yeah.
every episode is like this weird little action movie, like
Hmm.
legit action movie with like decent writing, dumbed down for kids. But if you're an adult watching it, you're like, oh, this is, you add more adult content in it, and it's a
Hmm.
fucking Arnold Schwarzenegger movie, and
Uh-huh.
and then you just go back and I mean, especially all those ones, all the Disney stuff from like the 40s and all that. I mean, they're
Oh yeah.
yeah, for sure. So I'm glad they're doing this and taking it's just something new, or at least something
Yeah.
fresh, I guess, as opposed to
No,
like, oh,
totally. Those
let's
used to scare the shit out of me.
right. But instead of just making just another remake and adding some weird like I don't know, some weird fucking
Right.
moral new angle to it. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, that's a bummer. No, I was actually scared of the big bad wolf.
Oh yeah.
Like real scared. And I was especially scared of the wolf from Lambert, the Sheepish Lion.
Hmm.
I don't know if you remember that short that was before Dumbo.
Yeah.
But like the mom lamb, the wolf comes and is like fucking up the sheep and like has her on this cliff. Like
Yep.
I watched that stuff with like one eye open until like much older than I'm willing to admit. Um, but I still
Yesterday.
have like, well, it's funny. Like I still have like a real issue. Like even as an adult, I have Disney Plus and I was watching a bunch of the shorts and I was watching some of the Three Little Pigs stuff. And like when the Big Bad Wolf's voice first comes on, when he like talks to him for the first time, that shit still gives me like the
Hmm.
icks and like the goosebumps, like oh, like childhood trauma. Like I fucking hate
Well,
this guy so much.
it's so weird that the content and or the concepts or the stories of those old cartoons and whatever, they did such a good job of making it palatable, like simplifying it enough for children, simplifying
Hmm.
pretty heavy subjects. Whereas nowadays it's like they nerf it so much with, but also add in like weird, completely confusing concepts, but try and dumb
Right.
those down. And you're like, this is fucking weird. It's like there's so much more like nuance that you should be discussing with this story or this, whatever you're trying to get across, but yet you're dumbing it down so much and nerfing it that you're oversimplifying something that is not a simple concept. And it's just weird how it's like it's backwards. I don't know. That's probably why we grew up so awesome.
Scary ass shit we watched.
Yeah, but simple like, oh hey, don't fucking don't open a box in the fucking basement that isn't yours. That's the
Yeah.
moral of the
Or
story.
like don't build your house out of straw and piss off a wolf. Yeah,
Right.
that too. And
Yeah.
don't make songs talking about how you're not scared of said wolf and then
Right.
build your house out of fucking
Yeah.
straw, you crazy person, because the
Yeah.
wolf's gonna hear you through the straw and then it's gonna come and blow your house down and it's gonna be fucked up and it's
Right.
gonna be your fault. I
Exactly.
remember my parents bought me like you remember the VHS stores used to have like the like dollar bin or
Oh
whatever
yeah, yeah,
after they
yeah.
were done renting and stuff.
Hmm.
So I found this VHS of The Little Mermaid and I was like, buy it for me. It was maybe, I think it was a year or two before the Disney one, or maybe it was right when the Disney one came out and that's why they were selling this one off. But it was definitely like it had to have been Japanese just by the style of the artwork, but it was the
Right.
original story.
Hmm.
And I remember my mom watched it with me because she kills herself at the end
Hmm.
of the real Little Mermaid because it's either she has to kill the prince or I think she has to kill the prince to save her father. I forget what it is. But then she realizes she can't kill him because she loves him, so she kills herself and she becomes sea foam. It was like
Yeah.
so young watching that, and I was just like, man, that was brutal. My mom was like, what the fuck is this? Like, who did we buy
Dollar
this
bin,
for
mom.
you? Jesus. I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, you did. You did buy that for me. That's your fault.
My
But
mom didn't
but
give
yeah.
a
Yeah, so
shit.
somebody needs to redo The Little Mermaid because that shit was brutal. Like she chops off her fucking hair, then she kills it, and then she's like gross because
Oh
women
yeah, yeah.
shouldn't have short hair.
Right, right.
Especially mermaids shouldn't have short
Mm.
hair. And
The
then yeah,
sirens of
she's
the
this
sea
well, yeah.
getting
So
sailors to come down to Davy Jones's locker.
yeah. Which are
Succubi.
apparently real according to TikTok.
Hey, man,
There's that dude who has videos of the sirens calling for
everything.
him.
Also am for that as well. Yeah, I love all this stuff
Mhm.
that's coming out. You got anything else?
No, that's all my horror news.
I got a couple of things. One thing that is directly related to this. But first. So,
Trauma.
yeah, werewolves. Stephen C. Miller's werewolf movie is wrapping up filming. Um, Supposedly putting the finishing touches on it within the last week or so. We talked about it a little bit a long time ago. The original title was
Oh.
Year Two,
Mm-hmm.
starring Frank Grillo. I miss werewolf movies. Like it hasn't really been a good one. Now, whether this one's going to be good or not, who knows? But I haven't really seen. I mean, there's been some of them like Werewolves Within was kind of funny, but
Mm-hmm.
you know, I don't want to spoil it for anyone.
But this new movie has Lou Diamond Phillips in it.
Right, Chief Diamond Phillips. So, uh, yeah. I mean, I don't know. I want more werewolf movies. Like the '80s was like vampires and werewolves all the fucking time, and a lot of them were real good. I mean,
I haven't seen very many werewolf movies.
yeah. I mean,
I'll admit that right now. Like I never saw American Werewolf in Paris or London or
well, Paris,
any of the werewolf movies.
London.
Well, see, I don't know because I haven't seen any of
Yeah,
them.
it's just a weird '90s, like lots of bad CGI. So you're like, oh man. But yeah, American Werewolf in London, great. The Howling, maybe even the second one. Howling's great. The second one,
I've never seen any of the Howlings.
oh my God. Well, I mean, all you really need to see is the first one. But so that's cool. Hopefully, we won't have to wait too much longer for werewolves. Oh, there was werewolf miniseries back in the '80s too, maybe early '90s. I forget when
Oh,
exactly it was. Werewolf,
interesting.
which was probably my favorite werewolf makeup. It
Mm-hmm.
had like one season. So, but there's that. And then my other horror news is Arcadian. We talked about this a little while ago. Another Nicolas Cage movie, the apocalyptic uh monster movie creature feature. Uh so that's getting ready. It's going to be at South by Southwest. So,
Oh, so
yeah.
it's coming out this year.
Yeah.
This and Long Legs? Dude,
Yeah.
he's an overachiever.
I know.
What's going on, Mr. Cage?
And we love monster movies here. So, I'm hoping this rules. But we'll see. Uh there's
Interesting.
it is Nicolas Cage, so it
Did you
could be.
see Long Legs released a longer trailer? Did you watch it?
Mm, like how long is the longer trailer?
Just under 2 minutes.
Then maybe yes. Whichever
It's
one
the
I
one that
watched
shows like
was
scenes from some of the posters.
yeah. Yep.
I feel like I'm setting myself up to be let down with this, and it's gonna be
Maybe.
more artsy than I want it to be.
Yeah.
But I'm getting real excited about it because I fucking love serial killer shit. Like I love serial killer shit. And then I love when you bring occult shit into that. That's like
Chef's kiss for Oobzilla.
Yes. Yes, but few people do it well. And
True.
if Nick Cage can be anything, I think he can totally be maniacal
Yeah.
and like fucking weird and creepy as shit. So like if he could really nail like a terrifying culty serial killer, like
Oh yeah.
I just hope he gets it. And lately he's been getting his characters, even if I don't like the fucking movies, he's really doing it.
Yeah.
It's weird. This is the era of Cage, and I've gone through this journey while being on this podcast.
Yeah.
And I started this podcast a naysayer and saying that I hate him and would never, but like, I'm sorry, he's
Well,
fucking dude's grown on me.
the thing me and Dom always said was like he was playing these fucking weird roles that weren't in his lane. Like his lane was always the Raising Arizona, Peggy Sue Got Married, like weird, goofy characters. Then Mandy came along, which I just wasn't a fan of Mandy, like the movie.
That fucking movie.
Yeah.
Fucking movie. Ugh.
and then The Color Out of
And the
Space.
people who like that, by the way, the people who love that are people who don't even fucking like weird movies. That's the best part.
Right,
I feel like
right.
it's a gateway drug for people who want to talk to people who like crazy movies to be like, oh yeah, like fucking Mandy, Unhinged. And I'm like,
Yeah, right.
no,
No,
no, it's not a cohesive story.
no.
Being
And
being just random doesn't mean it's unhinged.
right, and
It
that's
just means it's a fucking random explosion of thoughts that don't
it's-
actually make a real movie.
yeah, that's
But
what the
sure, you're cool.
fucking
Let's have a beer and
yeah,
talk about it.
yeah, that's what
Like
the
fuck.
director basically said too. I just wanted like, oh, I like this and I like that, and he wanted to put all the shit in the movie, and that's what you got because it's definitely like two different movies with a bunch of random shit in
Yeah.
there. But but yeah, The Color Out of Space, you're like, okay, even though he's out of place as far as his acting with everyone else, it's like you could see where
It's
he's
good.
going. Yeah. And then,
Yeah.
you get, I'm sure there was some other weird shit in between there, but then you get to Willy's Wonderland and then, a few other things and did some non-horror stuff like,
Dude, the one where he plays himself is great.
right. That and yeah, and then he just Renfield, and then you start like, okay, you can play this
Yeah.
weird horror guy. Stick with that, like you're good at it.
But I really, it's funny because I know everyone's like, he's so method, he's so method. And I totally believe he's method. But I
Right.
think that the reason he's done so well is I really think he's been picking characters that are a part of his
Oh yeah.
pre-existing psyche.
Yeah.
Like I think that he's been obsessed with Dracula his whole life.
hmm
Like it's like Dracula, Superman, whatever. So like Renfield, I think that like that was him as a kid playing Dracula. He just like honed that in and like made it this thing. Even the movie we're about to talk about, I feel like that is a part of his psyche, this kind of like, wanting to know what people think about him kind of
Oh yeah. Yeah, yeah.
person. And like I think and Mandy, I think that that's totally like what he thinks of himself as a badass in his head. Like, fuck
Right.
yeah, I'd just go in and fuck shit up. So, but I do think Raising Arizona and like, was the other one Leaving Las Vegas, right?
hmm
Like, I
hmm
think those are also, they were so great because those are him
Right.
too. The
He's
ones,
real good at
the
being
ones that
funny.
were miss. Yeah, the ones that were missed was when he started doing this action like
Con Air
face
and
off and shit like that,
yeah.
which I do believe is probably part of his psyche too. It just comes off as a cheeseball thing instead of what it's
That that's like the
supposed to have
the
been.
Superman comic book. Like I want to be that so bad when like
Yeah,
in actuality he's not, but that's what he wants to be. Like he wants to be that fucking tough guy action
right.
hero Superman. But Nick
But
Nick
yeah,
Cage.
he's been picking good stuff, and like I said, I'm excited about fucking Long Legs and this
I
other monster one.
I just hope it's not a thing like how Jujitsu was, where obviously he's the big
See,
name,
I didn't see that.
yeah, in the movie, and so you're thinking like, okay, it's going to be another one of those. I forget the
Oh, you
prisoner
mean he's
ghost,
not around very much?
right? The prisoner of the Ghostland. So
Yeah,
like that, you're like, oh, this is a weird ass movie, and he's in it throughout the whole thing. Whereas Jujitsu, he's like a supporting character. And you're
I
like,
mean,
oh,
most serial killer movies don't have the serial killer in them that much.
yeah, 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 yeah. Well, I mean, as long as, but he's not even like the focus, really. It's all about
But
this
I
one
could
guy.
see like,
So,
I mean, I could literally see like a Heath Ledger Joker style
right.
performance from Cage
Yeah.
in this kind of movie if he hits the tone right.
hmm Yeah.
But
We'll see.
I'm also way too optimistic about it, and I don't know why. But again, I just love serial killers and I love the cult.
Yeah. It gives me, honestly, it gives me a Skinamarink vibe, or at least how people were
Nah,
like
don't.
humping this up. I'm like, ugh,
Yeah.
oh, it better
No,
not be.
the one that everybody's sucking the dick of is the devil. What the fuck? It's about the TV show host,
Oh, yeah, yeah,
the
yeah,
devil
yeah, yeah,
something.
yeah, yeah. Late Night with the Devil or something.
Yes, it's good. Which that guy's been doing. That guy was in the beginning of Boogeyman. He's been in a bunch of shit
hmm
lately. Or he was in Smile. right?
Right.
The beginning of Smile.
And
He's a great actor.
yeah, the meter
Um,
using that too for a minute.
Yep.
And he's good.
Yeah, that is the one I did not include in horror news because just everybody's sucking that movie's dick right now. That is
Right.
like the one they're pegging to be the It movie, which whatever.
Did you watch the trailer? It looks cool because it's set in the 70s. So it's got this like grindhouse. It's shot like this grindhouse movie, which is cool. So it has
Those
at least,
long legs.
yeah, at least from the trailer, it looks like it could be good, but
Huh?
we'll see. We will see. We have very little faith in this movie industry at the moment.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of just meh.
Disappointments.
Yeah, so we'll see. But yeah, that's all I got for horror news. Do you have anything else before we get on to the movie?
Nope.
All right, well, that's been horror news. All right, dream scenario. Let me get this summary out of the way. A hapless family man Jesus Christ, a hapless family man finds his life turned
Whoa.
upside down when millions of strangers suddenly start seeing him in their dreams. When his nighttime appearances take a nightmarish turn, there's a lot of nights, Paul is forced to navigate his newfound stardom. Yeah. So, what do we want to start with? What we liked or what we didn't like?
I mean, I don't know that I have I don't even know that I could put my feelings in two different buckets for this one.
Yeah.
I feel like it's just one dreamy little bucket.
Okay. I mean, I won't disagree with that. So,
I usually don't fight the like and dislike, but this one I don't
yeah.
I don't know if you're supposed to actually like or dislike any of it. I feel like it's one of those movies that's just supposed to make you uncomfortable and like relatively unhappy.
Well, you're not wrong. Yeah, I mean, to be honest, there's not a lot that I didn't like about it as far as like I thought this scene was stupid or I thought that didn't make sense aside from maybe the opening dream sequence with him and his daughter. But then again, it's kind of like a movie like this, I feel like isn't supposed to make all the sense in the world either, even though it kind of gets a little more streamlined towards the end. It's still, I think, leaving it open for like, well, what the fuck? Because it's a dream scenario, So there's that, but let's just get probably the thing that we really enjoyed the most about this is the fart cum scene.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if I think I enjoyed it the least. I mean, for comedic value. So I have to say and this like plays to that. I mean, it's just it's so funny that this hot college girl or however old she was or bartender would be like, "Oh, I've had these crazy dreams about you, so I want to role play to get them out of my mind." I'm sorry, men, but that actually would not happen. I mean, there's a chance it could. There is a chance because
more often than not,
dreams
can definitely not happen.
Dreams can be pretty hot, but like it would usually involve like them probably just getting some hot dude they knew to kind of role play that situation, just making themselves dress shitty or something. So don't, but I mean, that whole scene was just so uncomfortable and icky, but it was, I mean, that part was super realistic because that's exactly what that dude would have done in that situation. And it happens. It happens. Don't feel bad about it. But I mean, I will. It's funny because, like, I read this thing about how the director. Well, the funny thing is Ari Aster is the one who like approached Nick Cage about this role because he was a producer, which does not surprise me that he was a producer in this fucking movie. But the director and the writer like didn't really have anyone in mind at all, and like the whole story is about this like really unremarkable person.
Right.
So casting someone who's super over the top and crazy seems weird, but I have to say, Nicolas Cage is very, very good at playing a very unremarkable
Right.
man that just like, and it's,
Oh,
I have to say too, there's not much I don't like about it either. I don't think I would watch it again because again, I'm not super into the independent films that just kind of make you feel like shit.
right.
Which this is that. It's not a feel good movie. It's not
Definitely not.
it's funny. Like there's funny parts, but it's definitely not a comedy. It's actually one of those movies that Netflix would probably call a comedy, and when you're
Right.
in the mood to watch one, you put it on, and because you're kind of feeling bummed and depressed, and then you watch it, and then want to drink yourself to death afterwards because you're like, what the fuck
Right.
is this? This is what
Well,
comedy
yeah,
is nowadays?
it was listed, I think, on Amazon as a horror comedy.
Okay, it's not really horror or comedy.
Right.
I mean, there are horror
I mean,
elements in some of the dreams at some part, and I mean, it is horrific.
yes, it is.
And I mean, yeah, I guess to me, horror is one of those things that it just depends.
It definitely
That it very
rides
much
that
could be
line,
horror.
like that
I mean,
thriller,
picture this movie.
suspense,
Well, yeah,
horror.
picture this movie in black and white
Oh
and
yeah,
some
yeah.
like awesome
Mhm.
like sound noises after
Good.
he hears more people have his dreams. It could be a Twilight Zone episode for
Oh,
sure.
for sure. Yeah, yeah. And
It would be a great Twilight Zone episode,
Yeah,
actually. Fuck.
it would be.
Somebody needs to recut it in black and white, make it 30 minutes, and it would be the best.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
Best.
I feel like it's more of like a sci-fi movie,
Yeah.
and
For
less
sure. If
or a
it
sci-fi
was a
horror
book,
movie.
it would be science fiction.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, I mean, if anyone's listening who hasn't watched the movie, it's basically about this guy, this college professor. He's a evolutionary biologist who's like completely
Mhm.
just unremarkable. He's married to this woman who
Coasting through
sucks.
life.
Yeah,
She
who's
really
just
sucks.
like doesn't respect him at all. It's not that she dislikes him because she's nice to him in certain ways, but you could tell she's just like, oh, you're just kind of there in the marriage and everything. And they have two kids, the kids are fine. But yeah, all these people all of a sudden start dreaming about this guy. And there was something that happened like this a while ago. So they say, like people started dreaming about this similar looking man.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, weird.
Now, whether that was true or if it was just like in the early days of the internet where people were saying that's what was happening, but it caught some traction on news outlets. But so yeah, he basically starts getting in everyone's dreams, and he becomes popular after not being just noticeable at all. And it kind of goes to his head, and the more fame he gets and the more situations he gets put into, and he's always trying to get this book written, his evolutionary biology book. So it's like a very selfish reason for him trying to navigate through this new fame he has. And it, of course, with anyone that does that, I mean, just look at these actors, like they get selfish and are like, yeah, I want to get, this is what I want. They get consumed with the fame to get what they want. And then all of a sudden some like bad shit happens. So all these weird dreams where he's just in people's dreams, not doing anything, just being there, start turning very dark where he's actually killing them or strangulating them or doing whatever. Like that one girl in his class, when he goes to the door and he's like, I need you to help me with something. Can I come in? And she's like, I don't know. He's like, it'll just like 5 minutes. And then he gets in there, to back to your point of him being able to play like a creepy serial killer. And she closes the door and he just turns around and he goes, well, that was a stupid thing to do. And she's like, what? And he's like,
he was so good.
Right. And he just turns real dark and he ends up choking her in her dream. But I
love the evolution of the character though too.
Oh,
like,
for sure.
One of the funniest things in the beginning is just this guy who's never gotten attention, even aside from his book. And then all of a sudden people are like telling him about it. But then he's always like, well, happy about the attention, kind of. But then he's like, but what did I do? And they're like, nothing.
Right.
He's like, wait, nothing? And they're like, yeah, I was drowning. You just watched. Or this happened. And you just watched. And it very quickly went from this guy who's like oh, somebody thought about me to like, oh.
Yeah.
And then I feel like it was almost that manifested this darkness that like incarnated into this
Oh yeah, yeah.
thing. Like I almost feel like the movie's making it a projection of like kind of that
Oh yeah, yeah.
beginning
Like
of it in a way.
yeah, like his inadequacies and his feeling like, God, I'm such a fucking loser that even when people are dreaming about me, I'm not doing anything. I'm just completely forgettable. So that's like a
Yeah. So
running
he went from
thing.
doing nothing to like
Yeah.
doing something.
Yeah. Which all turned around when whatever she was, the intern of the people that were
Yeah.
trying to get him into commercials with Sprite and do all the shit, Michael Cera, which
Right.
it's funny.
Yeah.
But and she's like, "Hey, can we have a drink?" And he's married, so he's like, "Oh, okay." And she takes him to a bar and starts telling him about all these sex dreams she has about him, and which and that part's real. It's like when someone doesn't get any of that attention, they start, "I'm gonna dip my toe in this and see like how close I can get to the edge."
But the
And then
best is it's not even like a real awesome, like normal sex dream. It's like
no,
this guy breaks into the house and
right?
is this like
It's like a rape
creepy
fantasy,
dude that she'd probably never have sex with because he's
right?
older and like weird, but because it's like this taboo, like, oh
Uh-huh.
no, but yes thing. And he just like eats it up and then fucking like
Has a complete
when they try
meltdown.
to recreate it, just like jizzes everywhere and farts and leaves.
He farts twice.
And it's
He's like,
so
ugh.
embarrassing.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
you could see it on his face. He's like, although,
No, he was a great actor in that part too. But it's one of those scenes that I don't care who you are, you're like embarrassed for the person because it's just like, fuck, man, you should have
right,
never gone to her apartment.
right,
You should
right,
have left that bar being like, fuck yeah, this hot girl has sex dreams about me and like keep your ego and emotion like high about that. Like, why would you go to her apartment? There's nothing good that would have ever come out of that.
right.
Ever.
Yeah,
Like there
no,
was no possible way it was gonna go well.
yeah,
Especially, I mean, if you're watching this and you see his fucking wife, you know this dude hasn't been banging. Like this dude hasn't banged for a long time.
yeah.
And then you put him with, like, what was he thinking going to some hot young girl's house?
He was probably thinking my wife sucks and she just doesn't think much of me, so I'm getting this
But did
attention
he
from.
even like jack off before or anything? Can't
No,
remember.
no,
He
he
didn't. Yeah,
just,
they should have had like a jack off in the bathroom scene at the bar before he went to her
yes,
house.
something. It's crazy that I did not know that Julianne Nicholson, his wife, she was on a
Hmm.
bunch of stuff back in the 90s and early 2000s. She was on Law and Order at some point.
Yeah.
But I was
Oh yeah,
like,
yeah. She's a
yeah, but I was
famous actress.
like almost three-quarters of the way through, I'm like, she looks super familiar. And then I looked it up. I'm like, whoa, that's crazy. But
Hmm.
yeah, she just sucks through the whole movie. And then, I mean,
I mean, wives, you know,
yeah, fucking wives. Ugh.
we're the
But
worst. The worst.
this movie did do well on like playing on weird emotions like that, I thought. And just the
Hmm.
actual like how someone would handle this situation, and the complete escalation of it and then the ultimate downfall, like when he's trying to go see his daughter do her whatever play or musical or whatever.
Oh yeah.
And he fucks that up by which I mean it's not honestly not his fault. It's weird that they were like, hey, don't come in. And it plays on the whole like weird safe space thing people have going on where it's like everything is trauma now. Like,
Hmm.
oh my God, I had a bad experience. That's trauma. And it's like, well, I mean, I sure technically you can maybe put that in there, but trauma used to be something that's like way more serious than, I had a bad dream. Because all these students start having bad dreams about
Right.
him. And then the
Yeah.
dean, his buddy, is like, hey man, you're gonna have to take like a leave of absence because these students don't feel safe around you. He's like,
And then the counseling classes and
right. He's like, I'm not doing anything though. It's their dreams. That's not my fault. And they're like, yeah, well,
yeah, but picture if you started having dreams about your boss like decapitating you or something.
I mean, that would be my problem. I'd have to go find it. I would
I
be like,
mean,
you have to
honestly,
leave
I
work.
have yeah, I have dreams like that anyway, so I'm fine.
Yeah.
In real life I can deal with it.
But it just goes to the whole weird like bubble wrapping of the world now, where the people, a lot of young, I mean, I wouldn't say even younger people, just people in general, have lost the ability to cope with anything that's like an inconvenience
Right.
in real life. Everything's a microaggression, or they think, this word is like, I can't be around this person because they use this whatever word, this benign word, and it's affecting them so much they can't function in life. And you're like, what the fuck is going on? So I like how it like just dabbled through just human experience in general. So I mean, I thought that was an interesting movie. There's the one thing it left me thinking that possibly it's all a dream. It's all his dream is one way it could go.
So my tattoo artist had a very
Oh, yeah,
interesting
yeah.
theory.
Okay, yeah.
And it sucks because I didn't watch The Green Knight before we did this, and he
Uh-huh.
told me I needed to watch The Green Knight or at least read the stories about Sir Gawain to get it. But he is like pretty adamant that Nicolas Cage's character is based off of Sir Gawain.
Okay.
Gawain.
Yeah.
And I need to get him to repeat everything he said to me, but even to the point where the light fell on his head at the book signing
hmm
was like something out of some story. He's like big
Right.
into all the King Arthur stuff and all that and all the
Okay.
side stories and the mythology.
hmm
And he had like 4 or 5 points of it that was like, this happened, this happened, this happens. Like it had to have been.
Interesting.
And,
Yeah.
and now I need, but he said if you watch the movie The Green Knight, that
Mhm.
it taps into at least a few of those. So I need to go back and watch it.
Interesting. Yeah.
I mean, Sir Gawain is kind of like the unremarkable
Right.
friend and kind of always trying to find his place. So,
Well,
but
yeah. It
this week I want to watch The Green Knight to see if I pick up on some of the stuff he was talking about. He gave me a couple other stories to read, but while I was getting tattooed, I was obviously in pain, so I was like haphazardly listening.
Right.
He was like, he was finishing my PB tattoo at the point where it's like deep in my inner thigh, which is not a
Fun.
pleasant thing. So yeah, so it was like cool to be talking about something. Like he was doing most of the talking at that point, and I paid attention as much as I could, but it was enough to where I'm definitely going to check out The Green Knight and watch it again. And I mean, yeah, he had some really good points that I'm not telling you right now because I don't remember them all. But the light falling on his head, something similar happened to Sir Gawain.
Well, it's kind of
And
like
that's what like sealed the deal for him. It was like
Like-
something really good happened to Sir Gawain, and then he got hit on the head.
right.
And he thought that was the comparison with the light.
Well, it's almost like
And that fucking scene, oh God.
yeah.
Going
The whole fucking
fucking depressing, dude.
Uh-huh.
So depressing.
Oh, look at all these people. Are they here
He's-
for me? My book signing? No, you got moved downstairs. Oh.
Yeah, he finally like writes his fucking book. That was his whole thing, and they move him to a basement. Right
Yeah.
before the signing, the fucking shitty ass light
Yeah.
just decks him.
Well, and it kind of all goes back to when he was giving his lecture in his biology class about the zebra
zebra?
analogy. Yeah, and how,
Yeah.
know, the stripes when they're all together, they look like just one big thing that predators can't really recognize what it is, so they typically stay away at times. But once a zebra gets on its own and starts peacocking, that's when the predator's like,
Yep.
oh, all right, you're food.
I see you.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And it's like him, he wanted to be seen so much that when he got seen, it's like, be careful what you wish for, kind of. Where it's like, oh yeah, you wanted a book? Well, here's your book, but it's not exactly what you wanted. They changed the name.
The fucking title. What was it? Oh my God.
it
It was
was-
so bad.
Yeah, The Man in the Nightmare or something like that, or something
And
like
and
that.
how the fuck would he only see that right when he got to the signing? Like
Right. I don't
that
know.
shit. Okay,
Well,
if there's one thing I didn't like, that scene, and I know he was like he was traveling or whatever, so he shows up and sees it. He's talking about what's translated to or whatever, but
Yeah.
I'm like, so many people would have to sign off on that before it happened, and you would see it. Like, there's no
Right.
fucking way you would just fly out of the country and be like,
Oh, here's
Wait,
my
what?
book. I've never seen or heard anything, or like somebody, but that also goes just
well,
back
and
to
he's
his,
like, oh, it's only like 50 pages instead of 1,000. And it's like,
Yeah.
you would fucking know before you fly out. Unless, I guess maybe it was only published in that country.
I don't know.
I mean, did it have a
which would probably
French
track
title? Yeah,
because he's because
that's
he
his
was a
life.
bummer. So
Yeah.
maybe he
So
would
like,
just flew out there because one French publisher published it 50 pages with a dumb title, and who knows what was written in
yep.
it.
And no one gives a shit about him enough to be like, oh, hey, by the way, they cut your book in half or like whatever. They changed the name.
Yeah.
Um,
And by the way, everyone who's listening to this, sometimes flying under the radar is fine.
yeah. Yeah.
Honestly, it's actually great. Like,
Yeah. Anonymity is pretty rad, honestly.
I know it sounds weird coming from people who perform on stage, but honestly,
Yeah.
I actually don't like the attention I get up there that much. It's like one of the few parts of my life and persona that I'm just like, yeah, like I do that, but you don't actually need to pay attention to it,
Right.
even though you're on stage, which sounds weird.
Yeah.
But like
It's
in my professional life, like I'm the one who does the work, but I want to be behind the mask. Like I'm
right.
not the
Well, it's the
like I don't ever
perfect.
want to be the face.
Yeah. It's the perfect amount, you know? You get to do the thing that you're doing in that particular moment. People are like, oh, yeah, awesome. And
Yeah.
people know you, you know, know you in that circle, and we get to do the thing. And then we get to, like,
Yeah.
it's like fucking Batman. Like, you just get to
No,
go do your thing and then
100%. You take off the
disappear.
cape and you're
Yep.
like, bye. Yeah.
Whereas people
And
get
I
stuck in that fucking, I want to be, you know, I want to be Homelander type of thing where they just, the mask is off
totally.
and you get trapped.
Yeah.
It turns into a fucking
That's,
prison. And no,
yeah, that's
not
not
enough
me.
people understand that. You know,
Yeah,
you see
like
all
I'm not
these,
trying to fight for people to like the music. I do it because
right,
people do like it and care about it. And
right,
the second they stop, I'm cool to be like, I'm fucking not doing
right,
this
right. Yeah.
anymore. And it's totally okay
Yeah.
because I don't actually want to be that. I'm the person who used to sit at the bar by themselves, like in the corner, people
Yeah.
watching. Like I actually don't want people looking at me. I'd rather not do that.
Yeah. Fame is fucking weird. And very few people can handle it or navigate it because then you just start turning into this like, I need the validation from these people. I need the lights and the cameras and the validation and the fucking constant oogling. And
I
you see
mean,
it when,
that's why substance abuse and suicide is
oh,
very high in that. I mean, I remember my dad telling me stories about who was it, like Ricky Nelson, and how he like
mhm,
couldn't actually like function going from stage to life because it was too much.
right. Yeah. So
Yeah.
that's, I mean, this, if anything, this movie could be a cautionary tale to be like, hey, just be careful because sometimes not being
Yeah.
noticed is way better than
So
everybody being
much
noticed.
better.
Yeah. Yeah. You get that you're not under a fucking microscope. You don't have all these weird people coming at you. Your life isn't turned into like this weird fake thing. Cause we know enough like famous people where we're talking like movie
Hmm.
stars, fucking real big musicians. Well, punk rock is, I mean, there's definitely some fucking retards in punk rock and just fucking assholes in punk rock that just need the fucking, they need the attention. But for as
Yeah.
big as people think it is, it's so small. Like most people don't know who the fuck you like name, I don't know, whatever huge star, fucking Mike Ness or whatever, whoever. Most people
Sure.
will never know who that guy is. He could walk down the street and then people are like, oh, which is great. You can go back to your little fucking corner and be, you know, your big fish. But yeah, this movie, it you could just see the transformation too, and just all the weird shit and just shitty stuff happening to him, and he can't handle it because he thought it was going to be
No.
fucking great, and it turned out to not be. Yeah.
Yeah. No. And could you imagine if every person you ran into had dreamt about you? That is my worst fucking nightmare. So maybe this is a horror movie because, like, that, fuck that.
Yeah. Yep.
No, I don't even like people recognizing me that I don't want to talk to.
Yeah.
That sucks.
100%. Yep. So
I am the best at like making eye contact without making eye contact because, like, once I see that happening, I'm like darting off the other way. Very low key. Don't want
yeah.
that. Nope.
Yep. Yeah. It's, I don't know. I like the
No
movie.
casual grocery store conversations
Yeah.
here.
Nope. I like the movie for that for sure. I was like, yeah, that's, you know, you see these fucking athletes and whoever that are just turning to fucking maniacs because they can't do anything and they're recognized and, you know, they end up having to fucking just disappear or have crazy mental breakdowns because they're not that
Dude.
person anymore and no
And
one
it was
cares
bad
about
in the
them.
50s, 60s, 40s,
Yeah.
70s. Think about it now when everybody has a smartphone.
Yep. That'd
People
be
can be like,
fucking
oh, I kind
horrible.
of recognize that person and then instantly know who you are. It's just like, I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
people are fucking crazy. It's
Hmm.
awful.
Yep. So that
Mm.
that's good. I like that about the movie. Anything else you want to discuss about this fucking weird
Wait,
ass
what did you
movie?
like about it?
Yeah. I also thought the
Um,
weird fucking watch thing to go into people's dreams at the end was it just indicative of the times. I'm like, yeah, you would see kids wanting to be like, oh, I can fucking, you know, hustle my shit in
oh
people's dreams.
yeah,
That's like, I'm like,
that when it turned into like a whole other movie, I was like, okay,
yeah, yeah. I think that was just like a
it
loose
is.
string thing to try and get him back into his wife's
Tie it
life.
up.
Yeah, which
Yeah, yeah.
I could have done without that part, like that whole weird angle on it. I thought it would have been a little bit of a better
I
movie.
I could too, but it did remind me of some of the stuff from like the 70s and 80s.
Oh yeah,
Like the sci-fi movies that all of a sudden bring in a whole other thing to it.
right.
And I guess it was the response to the dream phenomenon that,
Hmm.
if this could happen again, how can we,
Capitalize on it for sure. Oh, we'll do this. This is what I'm trying to do. Now we got it. You could be in anyone's dream, and now everyone is just down with it, as opposed to before they're like, "Oh my God, this guy's in my dream. The stranger."
I know, but it's so weird. And the ending, yeah,
Yeah,
I could have done without the last 20 minutes.
yeah. Yeah, it didn't really do anything for the movie. I thought the movie was, entertaining. I mean, even with that, it's just like whatever. You could throw it away and it wouldn't even matter. You're like, yeah, whatever. But
Sure.
yeah, I don't know. You want to rate this?
Sure.
I'm gonna give it a 2. I it was entertaining. I watched it twice. Um, it was entertaining. I could see how somebody would really like this movie. And now that you said that it was like a really long Twilight Zone episode, and if it was like 35 minutes or like 30 minutes,
Hmm.
it'd be rad. I'd
No,
like it.
I
But
now kind of want to download it and put it in black and white and
yeah,
splice it and see if I can make a Twilight Zone episode out of it.
yeah,
It'd be
yeah,
so good.
I agree. If you could cut a little bit out of it and just make it more like a Twilight Zone episode, I'd like it more.
Hmm.
Then you said that, yeah.
In fact, I think that we should propose the A24 for most of their movies does black and white cuts, makes them 30 to 40 minutes with some
Yes.
good sound effects and a nice little
Uh-huh.
and I would fucking love A24 so much more.
Get a good score. Uh-huh.
Because now I'm thinking of Midsummer as a Twilight Zone episode. It'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Hereditary totally could be. I
Mhm.
mean, pretty much any A24 could be 35 to 40 minutes, black and white,
Yeah. Yeah, I could see it.
edited to all shit.
Yeah.
It's so good.
Especially if you
So
have
good.
some sort of like cautionary tale like this one had, which
Mhm.
all, Twilight Zone episodes did. That'd be a banger. Black and
Yeah.
white, fucking Godzilla -1 minus color was dope. I loved it.
Was it?
Yeah.
Ah, damn it.
Yeah. Again,
It
it's
would
one of
be.
those
All right.
movies where there's some stuff that could be cut out a little bit, but it just looked good,
Sure.
especially when he's like
Oh,
fucking rubber suit walking through the city, all fucking robotic. I'm like, dude, that's fucking so rad. But it'll be out with the Blu-ray, so you'll get to see it.
so I will also give this a 2.
Okay.
I- I'm never going to watch it again, like ever.
Yeah.
But as far as dramedies
Uh-huh.
go, and this does have some sci-fi stuff and movies that are supposed to make you feel uncomfortable and possibly unhappy by the
Right.
end. I do think this is up there. I think it's a good premise. I think it's very original compared to things that are coming out right now.
Right.
it didn't drag on like these types of movies really tend to.
Yeah.
I do think there could have been some time cut out, but the pacing was good for that kind of
Well,
unease
enough,
and feeling that the movie wanted
yeah,
to give you, I
enough
guess.
uncomfortable shit happened throughout the entire movie that you never felt like bored.
No,
Like as
you were constantly
soon,
feeling
yeah,
like, ugh.
as soon as something was getting
So,
maybe a little mundane or just normal,
mhm.
then some fucking
There,
weird, uncomfortable
there'd be
thing
a big
happened.
ick.
Yeah, and you're like,
Yep.
oh God,
Yeah.
that sucks. So I agree.
Yeah. So I don't really like feeling uncomfortable and icky when I watch movies, but
Uh,
I feel like, yeah, I know. But I feel the application of this one was done really,
yeah,
really well. For what it was.
that part, his face in that part totally reminded
No,
me
he's
of
he's good.
it reminded me of the part in uh the Toxic Avenger, the original one, where
Hmm.
what's his name? Uh the fucking the nerd guy who turns into Toxie, is going out in the swimming area with his fucking tutu on and all that shit, and they're making fun of him, they're bullying him, and he starts being like, and he starts making that face.
Oh
I'm
yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
that's what Nicolas
yeah,
Cage's face made me think of. But yeah.
yeah. But
Yeah.
I'll say this movie hasn't made me feel that kind of unease since I saw a movie that was listed on streaming as a comedy slash drama that was called The Lifeguard with Kristen Bell.
I missed that one.
The comedian that's in Forgetting Sarah
Right.
Marshall, who's
Hmm.
hilarious and also tiny. Oh, you should watch that. You should watch that.
Maybe.
You
I mean, Kristen
should.
Bell's funny.
There's some,
She can
I
be
don't even want
anyway.
to say it, but there is a pretty hot, there's some hot sex scenes, but it's literally her with an underage person.
I mean, yeah,
So
you
it's
know,
not hot.
indicative of Hollywood. So yeah, accurate checks.
Yeah, yeah. But anyways, I hadn't seen a movie that made me feel that uncomfortable since that movie.
Yeah.
So, yeah, they did something. And I don't know. I guess, when I was younger, I watched plenty of sad, uncomfortable movies because you were supposed to. But once you're adult and you have a choice, you don't actually have to watch those.
Right.
So, yeah, I wouldn't watch this again. But for people who like artsy movies, like fucking have at it. You'll love it. You will love it.
Yeah, yeah. It gave me
Um,
like a more gory being John Malkovich vibe.
See, I didn't make it through that one. I tried.
Yeah, I mean, I think I might have seen the entire thing
It's
once.
just the way, like, how he talks.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it wasn't, these type of movies are not my favorite type of movies,
Mm-mm.
but that's kind of vibe. It's like, oh, let's kind of have this weird kind of meta, you know, fucking storyline going on and what a blah, 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 blah.
Sure.
But I mean, this was definitely way more entertaining than that just
Hmm.
because it's Nicolas Cage being fucking weird, and it is
So
way more
weird.
uncomfortable. And then it gets into the dark, like,
Mm.
horror side to it. And you're like, oh,
And
yeah. But
in the case anyone needed to know, Nicolas Cage, almost every movie he's done, he's made sure to pick his own hairstyle because that's part of his method acting.
yeah, yeah.
Many of the times the directors are pissed about it, but this one they were so excited about the hairstyle he created for himself. And apparently he spent many, many hours with a designer creating this
Just
particular
a bald guy,
hairpiece.
a friar tuck, basically.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
So there's that. He gets deep down in there,
yeah,
He
actors.
really
It's
cares.
like, oh, how do I look like
Really
a
cares.
fucking forgettable middle-aged professor? Oh, a beard and a fucking skullet, basically. You're like, oh, yeah, that's
Or I'm gonna put a pillow in my shirt and
yeah,
pretend like I
groundbreaking.
don't have hair plugs.
Yeah,
I don't know.
groundbreaking, sir. You really went
But
above and beyond to get that. But yeah,
that's
well, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I think we both agree for sure that people should watch it. I think people should watch it. I think it would be a good, and it's kind of a good bridge, especially since you brought up the Twilight Zone aspect to it. I'm like, yeah,
See,
Yeah, I
you're
could-
feeling that, right?
Yeah, that's a
Mhm.
perfect analogy. I'm like, yeah, it's a long Twilight Zone episode because they're all, everything. Oh yeah, you want this? Be careful because it may not be
Mhm.
exactly what you think it is.
You
But-
don't know what you're gonna get.
Nope, you don't. And I mean, it's a 2, so it did what it did. And I think it did what it did well, but obviously not our type of film that we would ever necessarily want to watch again or discuss again. But excited
Yeah,
for his new
yeah.
movies. They seem like two movies that will be entertaining and fun, but only time will tell. As long
Yeah.
as Nicolas Cage is being Nicolas Cage, I guess. It'll give us something to talk about.
It will, and he's got some shit coming.
Uh-huh. All right, well, yeah, I don't know. Go see it and let us know what you think about it. And thanks again for hanging with us on this Crossing the Streams episode of CAGED. Yeah, we'll see you little fuck farts later. Little cum farts later.
Losers.
Yeah. See ya.
I hear you looking for candy, man, bitch.
Give me some sugar, baby.
Awesome.
Like scary movies.
Uh-huh.
I do not think of that.
Groovy.
You ever dance with the devil by the pale moonlight? We don't have to be mean.
Yeah, Jack Burton just looks that big old storm right square in the eye and he says, "Get away from her, you bitch!"
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
Your move, creep.
Listen to them. Children of the night. What music they make.